Hello everyone. It's Amy here with Live Healthy, Be Happy. And I'm here today to talk to you about the number one thing that will help you with your stress, anxiety, depression, make you feel good. So I'm excited to share that with you today. Um, so with that, one thing that helps us, the number one thing I think that I start with everyone that I work with is clearing the space around us, giving us a place that feels good, right? I shared that one image in the group about how cleaning helps with depression, right? So I'll go through it a bit more and dig into it a bit deeper. I have a few suggestions and a few thoughts on what I've been going through with my own decluttering and clearing and cleaning and organizing. So when we clear our minds and when we let go of things around us and we don't have excess stuff, we start to feel better, right? So I'm sure a lot of you can relate. I had mostly people were relating to the fact that when they tidy up, they feel better, right? So decluttering, tidying up, cleaning, all those sorts of things. There's lots of different ways to get to that point in our lives, right? So there's some of you guys in the group had mentioned the KonMari method. Marie Kondo, her new show on Netflix. And she also has a book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. So I thought this was fascinating because my sister had mentioned it over the Christmas holidays. She'd mentioned, hey, did you see that show that's on Netflix? And I was like, no, I haven't watched it yet. It turns out it had just came out in January on Netflix. And KonMari apparently has been doing a lot of her YouTube videos on YouTube for a while, and apparently some of you guys have already been watching that, so that's great. So I figured I would try it out this weekend. I had watched a couple of the Netflix videos, and I dove in with full force, and I started doing it. And I wanted to share with you kind of the experiences that I had and hopefully inspire you and give you a bit of insight if you decide to do that. So the way, I'm not sure if you're not aware of what KonMari, her methods and how they work, so basically she gets you to go through all of your stuff all at once. So the concept is to kind of go through everything all at once in your home and determine whether things spark joy. So what you do is more of a visualization. So I talk about visualizations quite a bit, is visualizing things that we want, visualizing what feels good, where we want to be in our lives, right? So visualizing, what type of the future, what do we want as an end result in our home? So do we want more of a minimalist, more of a calm, zen environment, that type of feeling? So visualizing that feeling and what it's going to look like. And then she goes into determining if it sparks joy, right? So taking each item and holding it and touching it and feeling it and determining whether it sparks joy, because the end result is to get rid of negativity, only have things around us that feel good, right? So and I've read some different reviews out there and different things. So I know this can be, and KonMari talks about it in her Netflix series, that it can sometimes be tricky for us to determine whether something sparks joy for us. We just have so many things. Sometimes it's hard for us to determine whether that item actually sparks joy. And I know when I was going through my clothes, I'm not really much of a clothing person. I know on the one episode there was the one lady who, she loved her clothes, right? Like she bought lots and lots of clothes, and that's quite common that people do that. They just love clothes and love purchasing clothes. For me personally, Yeah, I like some clothes, but it was tricky for me not to throw away too many things and not have any clothes left because that's just something that doesn't really spark a lot of joy. But it was good for me too because I was able to get rid of a lot of like frumpy, not very nice clothing that I was just holding on to because it was a nice warm sweater that, it had a purpose, right? For me, I'm very logical in a lot of ways. So it's like, well, that's warm. If it's a cold day, I may need to use it, but I don't normally wear it because it's not very flattering. So it was a good practice for me to go through. But there's some suggestions in different areas online that ask different words or different questions you can ask yourself versus does this spark joy if that's not working for you. So tidying by category, not location, which is really helpful because the first idea is to do it all at once. So like in a lot of our homes, I couldn't imagine doing my entire home all at once in one day or one weekend. It would just not be possible. So tidying up by category instead of location is really helpful in that way. And part of that too, I found a little bit overwhelming too, because what ended up happening is this past weekend, normally what I would be doing is we'd be doing our routine with the girls, and then I'd be tidying up like the kitchen, washing my floors, cleaning my bathroom, doing all those typical things. And this weekend I was like, I'm getting all the clothes done. So I piled up all my clothes. I started going through it and I got through the majority of it, but then I realized I still need to get all the laundry done so I can kind of go through those clothes and put those clothes away and keep things organized. And then I had both of my girls' clothes to go through. And I was trying to involve them in the process as well, right? So having them involved in this process was taking a little bit more time because it's asking them, well, how do you feel about this? Do you like this, right? And kind of showing them how to fold and appreciate and put everything away properly. So that was one of the more challenging things is it takes a lot of time. And so then the rest of my home that normally would be getting tidied up, like the dishes, like I said, the dishes, the floors, all that sort of stuff has been left behind because I've been focusing on this other thing. So at points, it can be a bit overwhelming. You've got clothes everywhere. The rest of your house is not being paid attention to. So it's very important to recognize that sometimes it's kind of the calm after the storm. So you're kind of focusing on that future visualization of what it's going to look like, what it's going to bring you versus actually right in the moment, right? And I do have to admit though, when you're going through things and you're thinking about whether they spark joy or not, or whether they feel good or not, and then you're letting go of things, that was a really good feeling. And I really enjoyed that in the moment. And I was really excited to see all the bags accumulate of clothing that I was letting go of. And actually, I'll see if I can bring up my picture. Yeah, I have a few pictures here. So I have like 3 garbage bags full of clothing there that I'm getting rid of. And that's just my clothing, right? So that's not even like my girls' clothing. I still have to kind of go through them and figure out which ones are going to be hand-me-downs, which ones we're going to get let go of. And this is just an example of my daughter's drawer. So it makes it so much easier for them to find everything. And I've never been a folder, honestly. I've always had things stuffed in bins. So it's really weird. And we'll see. I'll let you know and I'll update everybody on how I can keep up with this process. And I don't know, I think I have more of a respect for my clothing now, like, folding it and smoothing it out. You just kind of like, it's more respect and more love for your clothing and your things and appreciation versus just kind of shoving them in and finding them. And I do know one thing, because the system I had before was definitely not efficient. And yesterday morning when we woke up and got ready for school, it was like it was so efficient and so quick. Like I was like in my room, I'm like, Kate, shirt, pants, I knew exactly what I needed, and I didn't need to search for underwear. I didn't need to search for socks. It was all there. The girls, same thing. It was like done, done, done. So Natasha's asking, did you feel like an adult doing the folding? Feel like an adult? Yeah. Well, it was a change for me, for sure. I don't know, feeling like an adult. Yeah, I guess that's a way to put it. I've never ever folded my laundry, really. I've always had a bin system, and I thought, well, that's the most efficient. I'm not going to bother with laundry. And honestly, um, my husband does most of the laundry around here, so that means it gets washed and it gets dried and then it's in a bin. And sometimes it'll be sorted between bins, so like my bin, my girls' bins, and then his bin. So that has helped tremendously, and that's probably one of the things that helped me a lot um, throughout my pregnancies and having babies and having that whole newborn era, new mom era, is having that support from my husband and not having that expectation of him folding it and all that. Just being like, okay, as long as it's done, I'm happy. And that's one thing I don't have to worry about. But I guess I didn't realize how much more joy it would be and how much more efficient it would be if things were folded. Although it does take time, and it does take so we'll see how it sits with me after a few weeks of trying this, a few months, and how far this goes. But that's been my experience so far. So this has been interesting for me. So I wanted to get into the categories. So I started with clothes, and then books is the next category, and then papers. I'm a little bit terrified to go through books and papers. Papers is another one of my weaknesses. And then she says to go through kimono, which means miscellaneous stuff, all the small stuff. That's what that means in Japanese. So then there's going to be that to go through, and that is a big category, a really big category on her show. Sentimental things after that. And I know we have a fairly large home, so it's going to be interesting to go through all of this. My husband and I have been together for close 13 years or so. So it's going to be interesting to go through everything. We have done a few rounds of tidying, but this is going to be interesting to go through the entire place. It's going to take us, I'm sure, a month or so, maybe a couple months, but we will work on it, and I will keep you posted on it. And it definitely feels good. It does feel really good. Like I say, the storm can be a little bit overwhelming, but the calm after the storm is really good. So like once I finally had all the clothing sorted and nicely stacked and accessible, that was a good feeling. Letting go of things was a good feeling, but not having the rest of my house being taken care of and having piles of clothes everywhere was a little bit overwhelming. But I think that's just the process that we need to get through, and just be aware that it's not just going to be smooth sailing from there. So I hope that helps, and I'm here to help you guys with that, support you with it, help you through the process of clearing out your home, tidying up, decluttering. Decluttering is huge, and not just with our stuff in our homes, decluttering our relationships, decluttering other things that are going, yeah, one breath at a time, exactly. Yeah, just taking it slow. It's so true. So there's lots of areas we can declutter in our lives, looking at our, like I say, our relationships, our career, our finances, so many places just to be more connected, more aware of what we're doing. And let me know if you have any comments, any questions, if you've done the KonMari method, if you've tried it out, what you thought about it, if you found certain places overwhelming. I'd love to hear your feedback, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.